Sucks. Let's break this hyperspeed barrier, get everyone home.
Congratulations, Captain Lightyear.
Eye injuries.
Sending Pixar's logo for any reason. I mean, they literally have not changed it since the 90s, and that's because it's that good.
Setting up the bullshit concept of your movie by making me read something.
Ah, then why do you literally have subtitles on if reading is a sin?
Wait, this is that movie? Andy must have flipped out when he saw a movie that opened by not only mentioning him by name, but also telling him what he was getting for Christmas the next year. No wonder it's his favorite movie.
Dang it, I agree that this text is stupid and doesn't make any sense, but you nitpick the wrong thing about it. This text is meant for the audience. It's obviously not saying that it was there in the Toy Story universe. Also, Andy got Buzz for his birthday, not Christmas. Not only is that literally on screen, you sinned the first Toy Story, so you should know this.
Opening your sci-fi movie on an empty starfield cliche.
Hey, of all the sci-fi cliches, this is one of the best. Star Wars does it all the time, and it's cool there.
If it's uncharted space, then how do you know it's 4.2 million miles from Earth? Don't you have to have a chart for those kinds of things?
Or they could just measure how long they've been traveling, how fast they've been flying, do calculations, and conclude how far from Earth they are. I mean, you kind of have to know math to be an astronaut.
Initiating wake. Did Buzz Lightyear die already? Why are they starting his wake? Look, if you meant to say wake up cycle, then just say it. Otherwise, I'm going to get mad because I was promised a funeral.
Are you joking? I honestly can't tell, and it's one of the most difficult things in writing these videos. If you're not, then let me explain. Some words have more than one meaning, right? Buzz is in hypersleep and the ship is waking him up. Was that it? That was easy.
Stardate 3901.
You only need 4 digits to do a stardate? What madness is this? Is that just the year? Either this stardate is too general to be helpful, or each number is so complex it involves variations in tone and speed at which it's spoken to determine what it means, and I'm honestly just not willing to give this movie that much credit.
This is just like the holograms in Star Wars. This is a fictional sci-fi term that makes sense in universe, but we are not meant to fully understand everything about it, nor do we need to. Did anyone bother paying attention to this sort of thing? Because I sure didn't care.
Sensors have detected potential life forms on an uncharted planet, so we're making a detour to investigate.
The entire rest of this movie is Buzz wishing he could have avoided pressing the yes button for this detour and just gone home. So why did he press it to begin with? Are the 1,199 space sleepy people aware that they could be diverted because of someone's curiosity? Is he breaking protocol? Explain yourself, movie.
Aren't you a Star Trek fan? Starfleet's mission in that franchise is to explore uncharted worlds all across the galaxy, and it's heavily implied that that's Star Command's mission too. That's why they have scientists on this ship. What is the purpose of scientists? To study and expand our knowledge of how things work. So Buzz chose to land on this planet to further the mission of exploring space. It's not breaking protocol, especially because the ship literally woke Buzz up to tell him about this, meaning it's clearly an option that Star Command allows.
Space Rangers will make initial evaluations, then assess whether...
Wait, their protocol is to leave everyone in stasis while 1 or 2 people explore an alien planet? What happens if they die out here? Who made these rules designed solely for dramatic effect?
How is it for a dramatic effect? And yeah, I think this protocol makes a lot of sense. What's the point of waking everyone up if this planet has nothing to explore? That would just be a hassle that Buzz wouldn't want to deal with.
Barrel rolling down a hill, putting yourself and your equipment at risk when you could have cautiously walked around and down because you're on a f***ing alien planet.
Sending Buzz's barrel rolls. It'd be a sin if he never did that.
You were narrating again.
I mean, I was gonna let it go.
I'm gonna stop you right there. You have never let narration go, so I do not believe you for even 1 second.
Super advanced ship built for landing on remote and unknown environments doesn't have any sort of automatic exterior tactile defense system.
So you're basically saying that because this is a super advanced ship, that it should be prepared for literally anything? Why do you expect technology like this to be perfect? And besides, I don't think plans like this are something they could have anticipated.
Buzz, protocol requires we bring him along.
Protocol, the scapegoat of plot development.
You mind explaining this, Sin, or...
You're mocking me, aren't you?
It's a line from the Toy Story movies. Quick, everyone orgasm. Also, it's not even a line that Buzz the toy is programmed to say, because it would barely be a known line from this movie. It's a line that two separate Buzzes just happen to say in two completely unrelated situations, and its repetition has no narrative impact other than to goose the audience with a jolt of 10 cc's of nostalgia.
I could be mean and point out that Jeremy is aware this line was said in the original Toy Story, proving he does remember some things from that movie, making the fact they said Andy got buzzed for Christmas thing even stupider, but instead, I want to agree with Jeremy here. It honestly makes no sense for this line to be here, similar to other lines like there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere, or I'm Buzz Lightyear, I'm always sure. Like, wouldn't it make more sense to have Buzz say lines from his voice box, like, Buzz Lightyear to the rescue, or there's a secret mission in uncharted space? I mean, Toy Story 4 had an infinite amount of lines it could have used when Buzz thought it was his inner voice.
Lines!
That have waited until now to attack us for reasons.
Bugs!
That have waited until now to attack us for reasons.
And that might be because they just noticed they were here. I mean, do you think you'd instantly run into predators when going into a forest?
Buzz shoots his weapon off 3 times and it runs out of ammo. I'm not sure if the movie is saying that Buzz is so bad at his job he forgets to refill his ammunition before going on to an alien planet and is then surprised about that during combat, or if the weapon only has 3 shots in it at any time, and this is shocking. Considering Alicia only shoots 3 times, it is likely the second option, and the weapon is as useless as a single-use water bottle.
Okay, I don't have a problem with this sin. However, what is going on with the microphone here? You'll need headphones to hear it, but this is just one of many examples in this video where the audio will sound one way and then suddenly sound different. I have no idea what happened here, but this is a rookie mistake that you wouldn't expect a 9 million subscriber YouTube channel to make.
I understand that I can't gauge the interest of every child based on the interest of a single kid that I know that watched this movie.
Okay, then I don't want to hear it. Skip!
The Wilhelm scream was a fun inside joke for audio engineers 40 years ago, but it's 2022 now, and it's now so well known that it's more of a distraction than an addition. Stop using the Wilhelm scream, because I hate fun.
Come again? Is that why you send the Wilhelm scream in Star Wars, an almost 50-year-old movie?
Willstorm Helmtrooper, sending the Wilhelm scream.
You send this sound effect every chance you get. Why are you now saying it was a fun inside joke?
I'm Buzz Lightyear. I'm always sure.
That is a terrible role model quote, and so help me if that's one of the taglines on the pre-recorded Buzz buttons.
No, it's not. The imposter Buzz said it out loud in Toy Story 2. You know, a movie you send?
This way. What makes you so sure? I'm Buzz Lightyear. I'm always sure.
This 8-minute open was actually pretty spectacular, but in 1995, Pixar didn't have access to this kind of animation technology. I'm beginning to think this movie wasn't actually made before 1995.
I don't think the movie is saying that Pixar exists within the Toy Story universe. You know, because that doesn't make any sense.
Buzz Lightyear mission log, stardate 3902. After a full year of being marooned.
So it is a star date that only includes the year. Do you know how useless that is? That would be like someone asking your location and you say the Milky Way. I'm adding another sin for this ridiculous star date system.
You're still into star dates. It's not that big of a deal, man. Move on.
Displaying that you are 0% positive.
Wow, you're not all that smart, are you? I'm pretty sure that's meant to say O positive, as in his blood type, and it's something the military actually puts on dog tags. I discovered all of that with only a minute of research, by the way.
Autopilots.
Get it? Because in the 90s, you had to blow on game cartridges to get the dust out. And I'm sure NASA...
No. Sending this joke.
Increasing speed to 0.6C.
Increasing speed apparently means moving the lever all the way forward with no room for anything beyond 0.6C, which is additionally confusing considering he's about to increase again. Where do you increase if you're already at the limit of the shifty thing?
He shifts it into this spot. Like, dude, it's right there.
Open the fuel door, Ivan.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
The movie decides to poke fun at the frustrations we all feel when the AI systems fail us, and it works as intended. I am immediately angry.
Jeremy sends something he likes, cliche.
Detonation in 5.
It has now been 46 seconds since Ivan said Buzz had 26 seconds to course correct, so I will no longer trust a single thing Ivan has to say about any of this anymore.
Movie time is different from IRL time, and you'd think you'd get that as a grown adult, but then again, you are the same idiot who claimed gravity doesn't exist in space.
What happened?
Time dilation.
A concept that's been well established in science fiction and even science fact since the 20th century, and yet somehow we had never even thought of or prepped for.
How could they have prepared for that? No, seriously, how could they have? What are you asking for?
Oh, I got engaged.
Oh, wow. That's great. What's her name?
She's one of the science crew. It's funny, I never would have met her if we hadn't been stranded.
Except you don't know that for certain. It seemed like waking up the science crew was part of the protocol earlier. So there's a good chance that everyone would have happily ever after, no matter the failures on screen.
But this dialogue implies that they don't. The only reason they did meet was because they couldn't leave this planet, so might as well get to know everyone. Had the mission gone as planned, maybe the pilots would have just let the scientists do their own thing, and they wouldn't have bothered to meet them. I'm just guessing, but it's a pretty easy guess based on context clues.
Probably the most confusing part of this movie is that they ask us to believe that Andy watched this and opted for a Buzz Lightyear figurine rather than a robot cat.
Yep, I agree. It's also strange that we apparently just never see any Sox toys in any of the Toy Story films, and yet Al's Toy Barn was overstocked with Buzz Lightyears. They could have used toys that we've seen before, such as Little Green Men, which is exactly what the Buzz Lightyear cartoon from the 2000s did, by the way.
People are starting to forget Space Rangers ever mattered.
Well, isn't that an education problem? It's only been 4 years since they woke up out of their spacey sleep to survive on a dangerous planet. They launched deceleration rings into space for space travel in that time. How are we supposed to believe they'd forget about the Space Rangers so quickly?
Actually, it's been 5 years. They spent 1 year building the base and then creating the fuel, and then buzzed up in space for 4 more years. Also, that's still quite a massive amount of time to take a program for granted. Which is their point.
Movie makes a montage out of what would have been a better movie.
A lot of you already know that I don't like this movie, for a lot of reasons, but I refuse to let Jeremy sending this montage go unseen. This was honestly the best part of this whole movie, the way it showed Buzz missing out on his life while he watched his friend live happily ever after with her wife and child. It's really well done. It ends in a really heart-wrenching way when Alicia dies. It's not quite on the same level as Up's opening montage, but it's decently close.
Right, because this is how he would find out that his best friend died. No one would have met him as he landed. They'd all have been like, you know, I think the healthiest way for him to deal with her passing is that he walks into her empty-ass office. After he watches the goodbye messages, cold turkey, we can all jump out and yell surprise or something.
You're forgetting how long it's been. Sox mentions 62 years have passed since he was first given to Buzz, so it's safe to say not just Alicia died, many more people have. Buzz is essentially in a new world now with a whole new generation of people who wouldn't know about its connection to Alicia.
Also, how haven't they established protocols for this thing after more than 10 trips in 40 years? Wouldn't they have prepared while you were away updates that he gets directly upon re-entry? Also, is this montage saying he didn't spend any extra time at home base in between these visits? When you know you'll be gone for another 4 years, it seems like you could spend at least a year in between jumps with the people you love. And yes, the movie never goes into specifics, so we don't really know, but that's my point. Show us!
I really think the movie is implying that as soon as Buzz comes home, he then tries again shortly after, which I completely buy. He feels incredibly guilty stranding everyone on this planet, and so it feels that he is obligated to get them home. The movie is trying to make the point that because Buzz is so forced on the mission that he's missing just living his life, which is the moral the movie is trying to teach.
To infinity.
And beyond.
That's some really impressive predictive timing by Alicia on knowing exactly how long the editors would milk the teat of sentimentality on that one, wasn't it?
Or Alicia is best friends with Buzz and so knows him really well.
Razor shield.
Pretending your antagonist's actually good plan is not actually good.
No, the movie isn't pretending anything. Buzz is the only one who dislikes this plan, because again, he is obsessed with completing the mission, so doesn't want them to get too comfortable here. The movie ultimately ends with him accepting their desire to stay on this planet, so it's aware that this is a good plan.
Sure, it looks cool to fire up the vine chopper blade as you run in the dark, but they aren't nightlights, they're weapons. This is how people lose limbs.
I'm pretty sure that, unlike you, these soldiers carrying divine choppers aren't blithering morons and thus would know how to use and wield those weapons carefully.
We're sitting ducks here. Allow me.
Yowas socks thumb driving up.
Nope, that's not Deus Ex Machina. Try again.
As I watch yet another space launch filled with ship close-ups and button mashing, I am learning something about myself. I am not the close-up shot of machines or something to be appreciated sort of person. Some people are, and those people probably love this movie.
Exactly. Some people appreciate these things, and since this video is titled Everything Wrong with Lightyear, your subjective opinion isn't something wrong with this movie.
Congratulations, Captain Lightyear. You have achieved hyperspeed.
Yes, because what every pilot craves is an unemphatic congratulatory message from a computer interface followed by a 72% decrease in visibility while piloting a goddamn plane.
This is supposed to be a joke. Also, that's not a plane.
Is removing the core just like common procedure after flying one of these things? What possible reason would he need that in his hands right now except that it conveniently doesn't get taken with the ship?
Is this a serious question? Literally the whole point of this flight was to test this hyperspace fuel, and so now he's taking it out to show Star Command that they finally found a combination that works.
I just love that Zurg was like, hey guys, I know it might take a bit of extra work, but can we really go all out with the magenta lighting accents on my stasis pod?
Jeremy points things out on a screen cliche.
Wait, how do you know about Operation Thunderspear?
Operation Thunderspear was A, the original name for the Free Britney movement, B,
I'm just gonna stop right there and point out that this sin ends with a college girlfriend joke. So skip.
Who are you?
We're the Junior Patrol, at your service.
Right. I'm gonna need more information.
you pronounced exposition wrong.
And despite doing these videos for over 10 years, you still haven't explained why exposition is bad. Buzz is in a new world that he doesn't recognize and needs stuff explained to him. What's the problem with exposition in this case, especially when it's fairly natural?
Star Command Code 2709.3 forbids me from placing unqualified personnel in harm's way.
And yet there are 3 civilians and a robot cat in this vehicle that are surely in harm's way.
And the only reason they're here is because they know the way to get to the spaceport where Buzz can get a new ship. He then plans to immediately get rid of them once they get there.
Also 2709.3. So the Star Command codes have decimal points, but the star dates are just whole numbered years. I may never get over the star date thing. It honestly is the worst f***ing part of the movie.
What? Of all the things in this utterly bizarre and misguided film, the star dates are apparently the worst part? Dude, get your priorities straight.
I guess there isn't an issue with bugs anymore. Are they like Paul Atreides just walking on the dunes with zero concern about whipping up the local bugs into a frenzy?
So this is a reference to CinemaSins' Dune video where they criticize Paul for not caring about walking on certain parts of the sand despite sandworms being underground. The problem is the reason he didn't care in those scenes is because he wasn't in worm territory, so why bother sand walking? Wait, what movie are we talking about again?
Wait, the timer. They don't know about the timer.
Buzz forgot to tell them about the timer? No, that did on purpose to murder them all, and nothing can convince me otherwise.
This isn't working!
She says, well, the thing they are doing is currently working.
But it's not? There are too many bugs that they wouldn't be able to get through, which is why they turn around.
Prostate exams.
Wait, I got a better idea. How about we don't?
No explanation for Zurg not pursuing Buzz here is ever given, and if you suggest that he didn't see him, then you have severely overestimated my desire to argue with you.
Well, yes and no. Buzz didn't see him, but that's because Buzz and his friends are now on the dark side of the planet. That's the explanation the movie gives. So you saying there's no explanation is just straight up false.
Now be careful, because these things combine if they touch.
Well, that's just a stupid feature to design into them.
You mind explaining why, or...
Recalibrating. 1. Corrupted file restored.
I believe you mean to say one conveniently timed corrupted file restored. Simple mistake, I forgive you. Actually, no, I don't.
And so what that it is? You realize this entire movie wouldn't have happened if there weren't conveniently dangerous life on this planet, right?
Sox lights a path that is already lit by other lights, and I'm beginning to wonder if anything that is happening during this entire movie actually makes any f***ing sense.
I pretty much wondered that exact same thing when I watched a CinemaSins video.
We might lose them in the fire geysers.
And if not, I'm sure the RESs will take care of them.
Arbitrary Princess Bride reference.
I don't understand.
Well, I'm sure it makes complete sense. The movie will get to explaining it shortly, and I'm confident that it will in no way just be a final act twist for twist's sake that invalidates all of the story work so far. This is Pixar. They would never let that happen.
While I'm annoyed you don't really explain why this twist sucks very well, I am glad you send it. This is the true worst part of this movie, and while I've mostly moved on from being mad with this film after 4 years, the twist still baffles me to this day. Even if we ignore the Toy Story problem of why isn't Zurg Buzz's father, it just feels so out of nowhere, and I just can't buy this Buzz growing up to be this guy where he's this obsessed with completing the mission to the point of ignoring reason.
Robots can't quite say Buzz, so around here I'm just Zurg.
Well, isn't that the most bullshittiest retroactive continuity bullshit to ever be shit out by a bull?
Again, I agree. This felt so incredibly forced, and it definitely deserves a sin.
It's a good plan.
It is not.
It's almost like the movie agrees with you, since Buzz decides to go against Buzz's plans shortly after. Also, could you show the context of what they're talking about? This movie flopped, and most people didn't see it, so they won't know what's going on.
Get inside the ship!
I'm not going to explain to you at all what's about to happen, or even ask your opinions on the plan. The movie's got 15 minutes left, and we got shit to do.
Didn't you complain about this movie giving exposition? Now you're upset that they're skipping it?
There's no way in goddamn hell that this bolt can be slipped off by petting it with a gloved finger. you movie, you Pixar, and you Andy.
I don't have a problem with this sin, even though it can easily be explained by being a sci-fi movie. But what does Andy have to do with this?
But what if I miss?
Don't miss.
Thanks, Socks, big help. You are literally a computer with all sorts of computation power. Go choke on a metal hairball and die, you frivolous fabricated feline.
But I thought you liked Socks. I mean, you even removed the sin for him earlier.
Congratulations, Buzz. That was utterly terrifying, and I regret having joined you.
Socks rules. Do you ever feel like modern movies are more foreshadowing than actual movie? In this single moment, we have both the using the cloaking device payoff and the Izzy throwing Buzz something to catch payoff. And that's just after we have the Izzy faces her fear of space payoff, the Socks I bought you 5 minutes payoff, and of course, we're just a few moments away from the dreaded Mo wants to use a pen payoff. Setups and payoffs are fine, but when it's the whole movie, my brain starts to see it as scripted convenience bullshit instead of authentic story impact.
Oh, I heavily disagree. Setups and payoffs are awesome. I mean, have you seen Back to the Future? Those movies have a ton of them, and I always find it fun to spot a new one every watch through. Heck, I'd even argue the Pirates of the Caribbean movies do this incredibly well. I think you're the only person who sees it as a problem, but everyone else thinks it's such a fun thing in storytelling.
For the first time in a long time, I feel like I am home.
So all the trauma you caused yourself and so many others desperately trying to accomplish your mission is now pointless and moot? Good times.
Yeah? The whole point the movie is trying to make is that Buzz has been stuck in finishing the mission, even though everyone else has moved on, and there's no point in keep going, which he has now finally realized. What's so hard to understand about that?
Lightyear!
Roll credits.
Oh, that's not fair.
I already have my team.
I mean, sure, choose the team you just haphazardly survived with based on necessity alone. But why dismiss an elite group entirely? Surely there was room on the squad for one or two of the best to sort of help the derp squad along?
But wouldn't that literally be Buzz's job?
To infinity?
And beyond.
Forget Infinity. The box office for this movie couldn't even get beyond Minions, Sonic, or even the freaking bad guys.
So a movie bombing is a sin now. Do you realize how dumb this sounds? Plenty of great movies have failed, such as Scott Pilgrim vs. the World or Transformers 1. You're doing that thing some YouTubers have been doing where they bring up box office as a way to judge a film's quality, even though sales don't equal quality. The fact that you're doing this makes me lose respect for you even more, so take a few extra sins, you sad, strange little man that has my pity. Farewell.
Very good.